A broken glass, a story of love, betrayal, and regret. Once upon a time, in a grand and influential household, there lived a man named Mr. Ferdinand. He was a wealthy ex-governor, admired by many for his power, influence, and fortune. But beyond his political legacy and riches, his greatest treasure was not his wealth or position, it was his family. He had a devoted wife, Mrs. Lucia, and together they were blessed with just one child, a beautiful daughter named Precious. She was not only their only child but also the very heartbeat of their home. Precious was the pride of Mr. Ferdinand, cherished deeply and raised with love, discipline, and the finest education. To her parents, she was more than a daughter, she was a shining jewel, their most priceless gift. One afternoon, while Precious was shopping at a supermarket, something unexpected happened. As she walked through the aisles, her wallet unknowingly slipped from her handbag and fell to the floor. Many people passed by without noticing, but a poor cleaner named Leonard spotted it. Instead of keeping it for himself, he quickly picked it up and ran after her. "Excuse me, ma'am, I think this is yours," he said politely, handing her the wallet. Precious was touched by his honesty, especially because he had nothing yet shows integrity. That simple act of kindness marked the beginning of something special. From that day forward, whenever she came to the supermarket, she would smile at Leonard and sometimes tip him as a token of gratitude. Slowly, their greetings turned into short conversations, their conversations into friendship, and before long, friendship blossomed into love. After 6 months of their blossoming love, Leonard took a bold step. He invited Precious to his modest family home. Though his family was poor, they received Precious with joy, warmth, and open arms. They were deeply impressed by her humility, respect, and the way she carried herself despite her wealthy background. Leonard's parents prayed for their union and encouraged their son to cherish such a good woman. Encouraged by this acceptance, Precious decided it was time for Leonard to meet her own family. But the moment she introduced him to her father, Mr. Ferdinand, the atmosphere changed. Mr. Ferdinand's face hardened with disapproval the instant he learned of Leonard's poor background. With stern words, he warned his daughter, saying, "Most poor people are not to be trusted, especially when they taste riches." His voice was filled with authority, and Precious felt her heart sink. However, her mother, Mrs. Lucia, stood firmly by her side. Later that night, she pleaded with her husband to give Leonard a chance. She reminded him that wealth does not define a man's heart, and that true love was rare and should not be dismissed. After much persuasion, Mr. Ferdinand reluctantly agreed, but on one condition: Leonard must work in the family company so he could be closely watched. With that, the path was cleared. Months later, Precious and Leonard's wedding became a grand celebration. It was a massive event, sponsored entirely by her family. Guests from far and near gathered, music filled the air, and laughter echoed through the halls. Mr. Ferdinand, though cautious, gifted his daughter a beautiful duplex as a wedding present. With joy in their hearts, Precious and Leonard moved into their new home after the honeymoon, ready to begin a new chapter as husband and wife. In the beginning, their love was strong, unshakable, and admired by everyone around them. Precious and Leonard traveled together, attended business meetings side by side, and were inseparable at family celebrations. Their marriage seemed like a perfect union, a true picture of happiness. Leonard, with guidance and training, quickly rose in the company and soon earned a promotion to managing director, a position of great power and responsibility, accompanied by a brand new SUV. At first, Precious was proud of him and celebrated his success, believing it would bring them even closer. But 6 months after Leonard's promotion, everything began to change. He started distancing himself from his wife. The trips they once enjoyed together became solo journeys. Meetings they used to attend as a couple, he now went to alone. Parties, dinners, and celebrations no longer included Precious. Slowly, the warmth of their home began to fade, and though Precious noticed his withdrawal, she was too occupied with her own silent battle, 3 painful years of childlessness. As the months turned into years, Precious faced a battle that weighed heavily on her heart, 3 painful years of childlessness. She visited hospitals, sought different treatments, and prayed endlessly for a child, but each result brought the same heartbreak. The gossip from outsiders pierced her soul, and to avoid the whispers, she withdrew from her father's company and isolated herself at home. Depression slowly crept in, dimming the once bright light in her eyes. While Precious was silently breaking inside, Leonard was drifting further away. What began as late nights and skipped meals under the excuse of work soon revealed itself as something darker. Leonard had become unfaithful. He spent nights at parties, took secret vacations, and lodged in hotels with his hidden lover. The same man who once held his wife's hand in love was now holding another's in secrecy. Precious sensed the change. The distance, the lies, the coldness, it was all too clear. Yet, whenever she asked him where he had been, Leonard brushed her off with the same words, "It's just work, baby. Nothing more." But deep inside, her heart knew the truth, that her marriage was slipping away, piece by piece. One evening, while doing laundry, Precious stumbled upon something that made her heart stop, a used hotel receipt and a packet of condoms hidden carelessly in the pocket of Leonard's trousers. Her hands trembled as she held them, and in that moment, the doubts that had haunted her for months suddenly felt real. Tears filled her eyes, but she said nothing. Instead, she watched him more closely, hoping against hope that her suspicions were wrong. But Leonard's late nights continued. His excuses grew weaker, and his phone was always locked away from her reach. Precious's heart ached, but she knew she needed more than suspicion, she needed the truth. Determined, she secretly hired a private investigator to follow Leonard's every move. For weeks, the investigator tracked his activities, where he went, who he met, and what he did. Precious lived each day in silent agony, waiting for the final report. At the end of the month, the investigator returned with undeniable evidence, photographs of Leonard and his lover laughing together at a pool, holding hands at private parties, and walking into hotel rooms. There were even pictures of them on secret vacations. Precious stared at the images, her heart shattering with every photo she flipped through. She didn't scream. She didn't confront him immediately. Instead, she buried the evidence deep within her heart and decided to give Leonard one more chance to tell her the truth. But each time she asked, he hugged her tightly and whispered the same empty words, "It's just work, baby. Nothing else." And every lie cut deeper than the one before. Unable to carry the burden any longer, Precious gathered her strength and went to her father. With trembling hands, she laid out the photos, receipts, and reports from the investigator before him. Mr. Ferdinand's eyes burned with fury as he flipped through the evidence. His voice thundered across the room, shaking with anger and disappointment. "I warned you, Precious. I told you that most poor people cannot be trusted, especially when they taste wealth." Precious wept silently, and her father's heart ached for his only daughter. With his protective nature rising, Mr. Ferdinand vowed to end Leonard's deceit once and for all. The very next day, Leonard was summoned. Precious, standing firm despite her tears, presented the evidence to him. His face drained of color as he realized his carefully hidden secrets had come to light. He stammered, begged, and pleaded for forgiveness, falling to his knees, but Precious's voice was steady as she said, "I gave you so many chances to tell me the truth, but you chose to lie again and again. This is the end." In a swift move, Mr. Ferdinand ordered Leonard's official dismissal from the company. His position as managing director was stripped from him on the spot. The brand new SUV, once a symbol of his rising success, was seized and driven out of the compound before his very eyes. Humiliation hung heavy in the air as guards escorted him out. But the punishment did not end there. Within weeks, Leonard was served divorce papers. Precious, though heartbroken, stood her ground. She had endured enough lies, enough betrayal, and she knew she deserved peace. Leonard signed the documents reluctantly, each stroke of the pen reminding him of the empire he had lost, the love he had betrayed, and the life he had destroyed with his own hands. After the divorce, Leonard's world crumbled. Stripped of his job, his home, and the respect he once commanded, he wandered the streets in search of another opportunity. With no formal education and no skills beyond what the company had offered him, doors were slammed in his face again and again. Potential employers saw nothing but a disgraced man with a ruined reputation. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, but no opportunity came. His once proud SUV rides were replaced by long walks under the scorching sun. His tailored suits gave way to worn-out clothes. His laughter at parties was replaced with silence and regret. Eventually, broken and defeated, Leonard returned to where it all began, the supermarket. This time, not as a respected company director, but once again as a cleaner, mopping floors and scrubbing tiles for survival. Each sweep of his mop was a bitter reminder of how he had risen from grass to grace, only to fall from grace back into poverty because of his betrayal. Sitting alone during his breaks, Leonard often replayed his choices in his mind. He thought of the day he returned Precious's wallet, the love they once shared, the home they had built, and the trust he had shattered. Tears filled his eyes as the painful truth sank in. He had destroyed his own happiness with his own hands. Leonard realized his mistake, but it was too late. The love, the wealth, the respect, and the life he once dreamed of were all gone, slipping away like sand through his fingers. Trust is like glass. Once it breaks, no matter how carefully you try to piece it back together, the cracks will always remain. It can never be perfectly whole again. A broken relationship may find apologies, it may even find forgiveness, but it will never return to the pure, unbroken state it once had. That is why trust must be valued, cherished, and guarded with sincerity, because once it is lost, the damage is often beyond repair, just like broken glass. Thanks for watching. Please like, share and subscribe to my YouTube channel.